Marcus Holloway wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag, squinting up at the night sky through the open doors of his garage. The meteor shower was supposed to peak around midnight, and half the town had driven out to Miller's Field to watch. But Marcus preferred the quiet of his own backyard, where he could appreciate the celestial display without crowds and chatter. At 28, he'd grown comfortable with solitude. His auto repair shop kept him busy during the day, and evenings were for tinkering with classic cars or reading astronomy books. Millfield wasn't exactly a hub of excitement. Most folks his age had moved to the city years ago, but Marcus found peace in the rhythm of small-town life. Constantly worried he'd never find someone to settle down with, the first few meteors streaked across the sky in brilliant white trails, drawing his attention away. From the 1967 Camaro he'd been restoring, he grabbed a folding chair and a thermos of coffee, settling in for the show. The aurora was particularly vibrant tonight, sheets of green and blue dancing across the darkness. Then something changed. One of the meteors was growing larger instead of burning out, much larger, and it wasn't following the same trajectory as the others. This one seemed to be decelerating, its path shifting toward his property. Marcus stood slowly, coffee forgotten, watching as what was clearly not a meteor descended with increasing precision. The object was silver and sleek, about the size of a small aircraft with strange geometric patterns etched along its hull. Touched down in his backyard with surprising gentleness, crushing his tomato plants but leaving the rest of his garden intact. Steam hissed from various ports as the craft powered down. Marcus approached cautiously, his mind reeling. This couldn't be happening. Things like this didn't happen in Millfield. They didn't happen anywhere except in movies and conspiracy theories. A section of the hull dilated like an iris, revealing a soft golden glow from within. A figure emerged and Marcus's jaw dropped. She was tall and graceful, with luminous skin that seemed to catch and reflect the starlight. Her hair was an impossible shade of silver blue, flowing like liquid mercury past her shoulders. But what struck him most was her clothing and elaborate wedding dress that seemed to be woven from light itself. Shifting between ivory and pearl and crystal as she moved, she stepped toward him with regal composure, despite having just crashed in his backyard. When she spoke, her voice was melodic, but carried an otherworldly quality. "Marcus Holloway," she said, and he nearly fell over hearing his name. "I am Celeste Vex of the Andorian Empire. According to the ancient prophecies and the guidance of my ship's consciousness, you are to be my husband." Marcus stared at her, then at the spacecraft, then back at her ethereal beauty. "I think," he said slowly, "I'm going to need more coffee." Celeste stepped closer, her wedding dress shimmering in the moonlight like captured starfire. Marcus found himself mesmerized by her eyes. They were deep violet with flecks of gold that seemed to swirl like tiny galaxies. "You're remarkably calm." For someone who just met his intergalactic bride, she observed, a hint of amusement in her melodic voice. "I'm actually having a complete mental breakdown," Marcus replied honestly. "It's just happening very quietly." He gestured toward his house. "Would you, ... like to come inside? I feel like we should probably get that spacecraft out of sight." Celeste nodded, raising her hand toward the ship. The hull responded to her touch, folding in on itself with liquid grace until it resembled a large metallic sculpture that could easily be mistaken for modern art. It will remain camouflaged until needed. Inside his modest kitchen, Marcus put on another pot of coffee while Celeste examined his surroundings with curious interest. She ran her fingers along his bookshelf, pausing at his collection of astronomy texts. "You study the stars," she said softly. "Perhaps the universe's choice was not so random after all." "About that," Marcus said, settling into the chair across from her. "Want to explain the whole destined husband thing? It's because I'm pretty sure I would have remembered signing up for an arranged marriage with an alien princess." Celeste's expression grew serious. "I am fleeing an arranged union with Overlord Vex of the Dominion Worlds. He is a tyrant who seeks to expand his power through marriage alliances. My father, desperate to prevent war, agreed to the arrangement." Her hands clenched into fists. "I chose exile instead." So you stole a spaceship and crash-landed on Earth. Not quite. My ship, Zara, is equipped with an advanced consciousness that has been analyzing your planet for cycles. She identified potential matches based on genetic compatibility, psychological profiles, and what your people call moral character. Celeste smiled faintly. You scored remarkably high in all categories. Marcus felt heat rise to his cheeks. Your spaceship ran a dating algorithm on the entire human race? Essentially, yes. Though Zara prefers to call it comprehensive compatibility analysis. Before Marcus could respond, a low hum filled the air. Both of them froze as three sleek black ships materialized in the sky above Millfield, their hulls rippling with the same camouflage technology as Celeste's vessel. They found me, Celeste whispered, her face pale. Drakthos is here. Who's Drakthos? The Overlord's military commander. He will stop at nothing to bring me back. She stood quickly, her dress shifting to a deep midnight blue. I must. Leave immediately. My presence puts your people in danger. But Marcus was already moving toward his gun cabinet, pulling out his grandfather's hunting rifle. How long before they start searching house to house? You don't understand, Celeste protested. These are not human adversaries. Your technology can probably track you anywhere on the planet, Marcus interrupted, which means running won't help. But they don't know about me yet, do they? They don't know Zara chose a local. Celeste stared at him. You would risk your life for a stranger. Marcus checked the rifle's chamber, knowing it would be useless against advanced alien technology, but feeling better with it in his hands anyway. My grandmother always said the right thing to do is usually the hardest thing to do. He met her violet gaze. Besides, I've got a reputation to maintain as the town's most eligible bachelor. Can't let word get out that my first marriage proposal was from someone trying to escape. Despite everything, Celeste laughed a sound like silver bells in starlight. Outside, the black ships began their descent. Commander Drakthos stood in the command center of his flagship, studying the holographic display of the primitive human settlement below. His crimson armor gleamed under the ship's harsh lighting, and his forearms moved with mechanical precision. As he manipulated the scanning controls, "Report," he commanded in his harsh, guttural voice. "The Princess's ship landed here approximately 1 standard hour ago," reported Lieutenant Voss, a smaller Andorian with nervous green-tinged skin. "Her vessel's signature has vanished, likely employing camouflage protocols." Axis's eye solid. Black orbs that reflected no light narrowed with displeasure. Begin systematic searches. Every structure, every hiding place. Use the neural scanners to identify any human who has had recent contact with Andorian life signs. Sir, what of the local authorities? This species appears to have primitive but organized law enforcement. Irrelevant. If they interfere, eliminate them. Meanwhile, in Marcus's basement, Celeste worked frantically over a device that looked like a cross between a tablet and a kaleidoscope. Zara is trying to mask our biosignatures, she explained, but Drakthos has military-grade equipment. We have perhaps 20 minutes before they isolate this location. Marcus peered through the basement window, watching dark shapes moving between houses down the street. They're going door to door. Mrs. Henderson's house just lit up with some kind of scanner beam, thermal and genetic analysis, Celeste said grimly. They're cataloging every human to identify anomalies. What happens when they don't find you in the other houses? They'll expand the search radius and increase scanning intensity. She looked up from her device, fear evident in her violet eyes. Marcus, there's something else. Drakthos isn't just here to retrieve me. He's evaluating your species for potential ... complications. Meaning? If humans are deemed too curious about Andorian technology, too likely to investigate or interfere in galactic affairs, the Dominion has protocols for eliminating emerging civilizations. Marcus felt cold dread settle in his stomach. You're saying they might destroy Earth because I helped you, not just Earth. They'd sterilize this entire system to ensure no witnesses remain. The sound of boots on gravel made them both freeze. Through the window, Marcus could see armed figures approaching his house tall, posing beings in form-fitting armor that seemed to absorb light. Their movements were unnaturally coordinated, like a single mind controlling multiple bodies. Cellar, Marcus whispered, leading Celeste toward a hidden door behind his water heater. His grandfather had built a Prohibition-era hiding spot that even most locals didn't know about. Can your ship help us? Not directly. Zara is maintaining deep camouflage to avoid detection. But ... Celeste's eyes brightened slightly. She might be able to create a diversion. Above them, the sound of splintering wood echoed through the house. The front door had been breached. Do it, Marcus breathed. Celeste pressed a symbol on her device. A moment later, every car alarm in Millfield began blaring simultaneously. Street lights flickered in rapid sequences. Every cell phone in town started playing music at maximum volume. Electromagnetic pulse designed to mimic a solar flare, Celeste whispered as they squeezed into the cramped hiding space. It should mask our exact location while creating chaos. Heavy footsteps moved through the house above them. Marcus could hear alien voices speaking in harsh, clipped tones. Something crashed, probably his kitchen table being overturned then. Mercifully, the footsteps moved away. But as they waited in the darkness, Marcus realized their victory was temporary. They'll be back, he said quietly. Next time they'll have better equipment. Celeste nodded. Directhos is methodical. He will analyze the electromagnetic disturbance, identify its artificial nature, and focus his search on this area. Then we need help. Marcus pulled out his phone, grateful it still worked despite Zara's electronic interference. Time to call. In some favors. Marcus, you cannot involve more humans. Too late for that, he said, already dialing. Alina, it's Marcus. I need you to get to my place fast and bring every deputy you can trust. And Alina, bring heavy weapons. Sheriff Alina Santos arrived at Marcus's property 20 minutes later, with 2 deputies and enough firepower to stop a small army. She was a compact woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing, including the large metallic sculpture. That definitely hadn't been in Marcus's backyard yesterday morning. Start talking, Holloway, she said, cradling a shotgun with practiced ease. And it better be good, because half my county's electronics just went haywire, and there are unmarked aircraft circling my town. Marcus emerged from the cellar with Celeste, who had somehow shifted her wedding dress into more practical clothing that resembled a silver flight suit. Alina took one look at her otherworldly beauty and inhuman grace, then nodded once. Alien refugee situation. Got it? What do they want me? Celeste said simply, and possibly to eliminate any witnesses to my presence here. Alina processed this. Information with the same calm professionalism she brought to domestic disputes and bar fights. How many hostiles? 3 ships, approximately 12 soldiers each, Celeste replied. Advanced weapons, military training, 0 regard for human life, and their weak points. Marcus and Celeste exchanged glances. We're not sure they have any, Marcus admitted. Alina smiled grimly. Honey, everything has weak points. Question is whether we're smart enough to find them fast enough. She turned to her deputies. Rodriguez, get on the radio. Call in every favor we have with state police, National Guard, anybody who might believe this story. Williams, start evacuating. Civilians to the schoolets, got the best shelter areas. Lena, you can't fight them, Celeste protested. Your weapons are centuries behind theirs. Maybe, but we know this terrain, and they don't. Lena studied the alien woman with sharp eyes. Question is, what are you willing to sacrifice to protect these people? Celeste's expression grew pained. If I surrender, they might leave your people alone. And you'd spend eternity married to a tyrant, Marcus said firmly. That's not happening. It's not your choice to make, Celeste replied, but her voice wavered. Alina watched this exchange with interest. You care about him? Celeste looked at Marcus, seeing past his ordinary appearance to the courage underneath. In just a few hours, he had risked everything to help a stranger, shown cleverness under pressure, and demonstrated the kind of moral character that Zara's analysis had identified. Yes, I do. And you? Alina asked Marcus. Marcus thought about his quiet life, his predictable routines, his contentment with solitude. Then he looked at Celeste, brilliant, brave, beautiful, in ways that had nothing to do with her otherworldly features. "Yeah, I do too," good Alina said, "because what I'm about to suggest is going to require both of you to trust each other." Completely, she outlined her plan quickly. The Andorians would expect humans to scatter or hide. Instead, they would concentrate forces at the town square and make themselves visible targets. When Dracthos came in force, Celeste would appear to surrender, but Marcus would be hidden nearby with a specific piece of human technology that might just level the playing field. "It's insane," Marcus said when she finished. "It's suicide," Celeste added. Alina shrugged. "It's Tuesday night in Millfield. We make our own entertainment around here." As they prepared for the confrontation, Celeste pulled Marcus aside. "If this fails, if I don't survive this, you will," he interrupted. "But if I don't know that meeting you has shown me what love truly means, it's not duty, not arranged bonds for political gain, but choice freely given." Marcus kissed her then, soft and brief, but carrying a lifetime of promise. "Then let's make sure you survive to explore that choice." Above them, the black ships began descending toward the town square, and Dracthus's voice echoed from speakers mounted on their hulls. "Surrender the princess, humans, and your deaths will be swift." Alina chambered. "Around into her shotgun, like hell they will." The town square of Millfield had never seen anything like the standoff that unfolded under the star-filled sky. Dracthus's ships formed a perfect triangle around the central park, their hulls gleaming with menacing beauty. Alien soldiers in crimson, armor deployed in precise formations, weapons trained on the small group of humans who had dared to gather rather than flee. But what Dracthos hadn't anticipated was the figure who emerged from the largest shipside port atoll. Elegant Andorian woman whose silver robes seemed to capture and reflect starlight. Her presence immediately shifted the tension in the square. "Ambassador Cathara," Celeste breathed in amazement. "My mentor?" The older woman approached with regal dignity, her violet eyes taking in the scene, the human law enforcement officers, the cowering commander Dracthos, and Celeste standing protectively near Marcus. "Dracthos," Cathara said, her voice carrying absolute authority, "you exceed your mandate." The military commanders for arms gestured dismissively. The Overlord's orders were clear: retrieve the princess by any means necessary. "The Overlord's authority does not supersede the ancient laws of bonding choice," Cathara replied calmly, "which I suspect you hoped no one would remember to invoke." Lena Santos stepped forward, still holding her shotgun but keeping it lowered. "Ambassador, I'm Sheriff Santos. Would someone mind explaining what bonding choice means for those of us who didn't go to alien law school?" Cathara smiled, the first expression of warmth any of the humans had seen from an Andorian. "It means, Sheriff Santos, that any royal who successfully completes a genetic compatibility bond with a sentient being of another species cannot be compelled into political marriage. The law was created centuries ago to prevent exactly the type of arrangement Overlord Vex is attempting." Dracthus's black eyes narrowed. "The human cannot have completed bonding protocols. He lacks the necessary biological modifications." "Actually," Marcus said, stepping into the light and raising his left hand, "I think we might have already taken care of that." A thin silver band circled his ring finger, not metal, but something that seemed alive, pulsing with soft bioluminescence. Celeste raised her own hand, showing an identical band. During the crisis, Celeste explained, when our lives were in danger together, Zara initiated emergency bonding protocols. She analyzed our genetic compatibility, psychological harmony, and emotional resonance. Cathara examined both rings with obvious satisfaction. Fully recognized biomarks. The bond is legally complete, according to Andorian law. "This is preposterous," Dracthos snarled. "A primitive species cannot what?" Marcus interrupted, his voice gaining strength. "Cannot show courage, cannot make sacrifices for others, cannot choose love over convenience." He looked directly at the commander. "Maybe the question isn't whether humans are advanced enough for galactic civilization. Maybe it's whether your civilization is advanced enough for humans." Alina grinned. "I like this kid." Cathara turned to Celeste. "The choice is yours, child. You may return with me to Andoria as a bonded royal with full legal protection from forced marriage, or you may choose exile with your bondmate. But know that either choice will have consequences. Celeste looked at Marcus, at the small town that had risked everything to protect her, at the vast star-filled sky above. What kind of consequences? If you return, you become heir to your father's throne. With the power to change Andorian law and prevent future arranged marriages, your bond with Marcus would make him a galactic citizen, free to travel between worlds. And if we stay, Earth becomes a protected world under Andorian law, but you forfeit your royal status forever. Marcus squeezed her hand. Either way, we're together? Either way, we're together, Celeste confirmed. They stood in silence for a moment, weighing a decision that would affect not just their lives, but potentially the future of two species. Finally, Celeste smiled. I think, she said, it's time for Andorian royalty to see how humans really live. But first, ... She turned to Alina. Would you be willing to perform a wedding ceremony? I believe human customs require an official witness. Alina Santos, sheriff of Millfield County, looked around at the assembled crowd of humans and aliens under the star-filled sky. Honey, she said, this is definitely going to be one for the record books. 6 months later, Marcus and Celeste split their time between Earth and the Andorian capital, working as cultural ambassadors and proof that love truly could bridge the gap between worlds. Millfield became the unofficial first contact center for Earth, and Alina Santos was promoted to planetary liaison officer. And in Marcus's garage, next to the restored 1967 Camaro, sat a silver spacecraft named Zara, who had become quite fond of human romance novels and was already analyzing compatibility data for several other species she'd recently encountered. After all, she had developed quite a reputation as a matchmaker.